Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to rise that we might have a moment of silence, and please remember our men and women who serve us in our cities, across our state, across our nation, and all around the world, keeping us safe, and then we will pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to thank you all for being here today. This is a fantastic turnout. I think this is the best turnout we've had on all the stops so far. I'm Diane. I have the honor and privilege of serving you as Arizona Superintendent of Public Instruction. First, I'd like to introduce the colleagues who are up here on the dais with me. First, we have your very own representative, Jamie Mesnard from LD 17.
Give the microphone. Oh, it's dangerous thing for a politician. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Diane Mesnard. I represent District 17, which is where we're sitting here. It's Chandler, part of Gilbert, and all of Sun Lakes. And I was invited by the superintendent, which I appreciate, just to be part of this meeting for listening to her. So that's really what I'm here to do. I know what we're here to do, and that's to listen to you guys and hear some of your thoughts. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for being here.
Next is Dr. Cecilia Johnson. She is an associate superintendent with the Department of Ed over the highly qualified teacher area.
Thank you, Superintendent Douglas. I'm very pleased to be here. I'm listening to her. Anxious to hear from our parents, educators, and community members, providing us input on such important issues. So welcome.
And then finally, we have with us a former legislator, 16 years, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, former Senator Leo Lansing Taylor, who is now with the Department of Education in special projects areas and working on some curriculum. Will help us work with bringing curriculum areas into the.
Well, certainly good morning to everyone, and it definitely shows here that education is a priority conversation. We are looking forward to hearing from everyone and what you have to say, and I certainly enjoyed speaking to people this morning. But I would also like to add one last thing. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers who are in the audience tomorrow.
So with that, some of you, I see some friends in the audience that I've met along the way, and they are well aware, and for those of you who aren't, know that as I campaigned for this office, I was a very outspoken, vocal opponent of the current standards that were put in place. But I was also very, I think, outspoken about the fact that I know the authority of the office for which I ran. I don't have the authority to just change things carte blanche. So that's why we're here to hear from you today. What I can do is over the course of seven stops at 14 locations, hear from you, get feedback, and then make recommendations where they're appropriate, either to the State Board of Ed, the Governor's Office, the legislature. That's why we've asked legislators to be here and participate so that they can hear. And as we make craft legislation, they'll help hopefully understand some of what's behind it. This is not about politics or political campaigns, past, present, or future, wherever they may go. It's about giving the public the input that I believe never happened back in 2009 and 2010 when our education system was changed very radically. So I want to hear from all of you. The subject of this meeting is K-12 education. So it's not to any particular area. You can bring up funding, you can bring up standards, you can talk about experiences with testing and whatever, as long as it fits into the K-12 box. it's open-ended. This is a two-part tour. We're out here today on what is the listening tour, and that will end roughly into June sometime. I don't know, I'm going wherever they tell me, put me in Florida for there. So it will end about the middle of June, and then we're going to go back to the Department of Ed for probably, it'll take us a couple of months to synthesize through all that you've given us and see, and is this a legislative issue? Is this a board ed issue? Is it something that will help the Department of Education improve the services that we provide not only to your local school districts, but that we can provide to students and to parents? So we're hoping to get all kinds of feedback, and after we do that, we'll be back again in August, September timeframe, and be able to lay out to you all the different things we've heard and what we believe that we can do with all that information to help improve education in Arizona. Because I believe that no matter what direction you come to education from, everybody's goal is to make it the best possible education for our children here in Arizona and to give them the best and brightest futures that we possibly can. So we will be back with that, and I also intend, as long as I'm in office, to make this be an annual process. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, if I don't get it in this year, this is a one-shot deal. We intend to do this every single year because it's your education system and your children and grandchildren. So we need to be hearing first and foremost from you. Just a little bit of housekeeping. You saw as you came in, there were parts if you wanted to speak, and we have Terry, who will help us go through those, call you up as the time comes. If you don't want to speak, but you still want to give your input, we have forms outside, so you're more than welcome to fill those out and leave those with us. If public speaking isn't your cup of tea, if you sat and just decided to come and listen, but then all of a sudden you think maybe you have a comment you want to weigh in, just raise your hand and someone from staff will get you a card and we'll make sure you get in queue. All questions today are going to be deemed rhetorical, so that we're not going to be answering questions. But for things that are very simple, what we're going to be doing is putting up like the frequently asked questions on our website, so you can go back for things that are pretty perfunctory, like, I don't know, how long was the testing window for AZ merit? You know, things like that. We can put up an answer very quickly, very easily for you. Otherwise, with more comprehensive answers, we'll be back in the fall to let you know. We do ask, I'm not putting a time limit per se on the speaking. I don't want to say like a school board meeting or city council meeting, you've got your 2 minutes, so talk fast. We want to hear your thoughts, but we do ask you to bear in mind there are a lot of people here, and I'm sure we have a lot of cards of people who want to speak. So please be courteous. The other thing, rather than telling you like the school board or the city council that if somebody's already made your comment, don't get up and make it again, don't necessarily reiterate exactly what you've heard before, but please do say, I agree with that point, because we do want to know, is it one person, is it 5 people, 10 people, or the whole room that kind of agrees with a certain point that's made. So don't be afraid. Did I lose it? Who I am. The last thing I want to do before we start, because this is about listening to you, I just like, do we have any school board members in the audience? If we do, please stand up. Take a bow to your community. Any city council members, please stand up. Be recognized by your community. If there are any other elected officials that I've missed, any other representatives, judges, anybody, please stand up. We thank you all for your service. We know how much time and effort that takes away from your family, but I know that you feel like I do, and it's a blessing to serve the community. So with that, our time is over, and we turn the mic over and hear what you have to say. Thank you. Oh, sure, stand up. Teacher. Thank you very much. I always forget something at the beginning of the last one I forgot the elected official, so it's always on my bad about something. Thank you so much again. I'm going to turn it over to you, Terry.
Good morning. I'm Terry Turney. I'm a career educator and a business owner here in Arizona, and I've been asked to assist with facilitation. My role is a group of 5 names. I will read the list of names. I have 37 cards in my hand thus far this morning. The staff will continue, make that probably 38, 39 cards. We will continue to collect as you're coming to the microphone. The microphone is in the front. As I read the 5 names, to the best of your ability, if you can position to come forward in the order in which your name is written. Again, as we've said, we have slightly less than 2 hours, and we'll try to move through and hear from as many of you as possible. If for some reason your name does not get called in our time, you all received a piece of paper where you can outline your questions. Don't let that go as an opportunity, because your exact question may not be surfaced at the microphone. So our first group of 5 this morning, Whitney Shields, Beth Brazil, I believe, Connie Laputa, Lauren Clough, and Nan Williams. So if you'll come on down, and in the order in which you recall, and again, just state your name before you begin speaking, so we've got that through the recordation process. Whitney?
Not want to be first. Somebody's got to break the ice. Okay, so it might have turned itself off. Okay. Okay, my name is Whitney Shields, and I have 7 children. And I live in Gilbert in Chandler School District. And I have recently woken up. I did not know what was going on in education until recently. And I started studying extensively. I pretty much stopped watching TV. I still take care of my kids, but I don't watch TV anymore. And I have been studying. I've been looking at reputable sources, trying to find real information, source-driven information, not just opinion about what is going on with education in our country and not just Arizona. I am opposed to the standards that are in our country right now. I do not believe that they're going to help us at all. I am in favor of high standards. I do believe that we need to do something for our state that we can do ourselves. I don't think we need the government helping us with it at all. We don't need their money, and we don't need their help. I believe that we can do this ourselves. By accepting the government's money, we are also accepting their standards and their mandates about what we need to do for our schools, and we will have to pay for that exclusively. We will end up paying way more for all of the things that we will have to, all the computers we'll have to buy, all the training, all the computer upkeep, all of the multitudinous textbooks and tablets and things that we will have to buy through our own money to support this. So if people have the comment that, oh, we can't back out, we've already paid too much, that's not true. We can back out, we need to. I'm also opposed to the United States testing. I believe that testing is important, and I think we should do it every 4 years, and that students need to be assessed to see if the education they're receiving is on par with their grade level. I think that is important. I do not believe it should be tied to their grades nor their advancement to the next grade. They should have helps, and it should be more individualized. I am opposed to the data collection as well, and for the people who don't believe that data collection is happening, it is. Last week I was able to go onto a website and find the 400 points of data that was asked for by the NCES education.gov. And last week I was able to go on and find all 400 points of data that they wanted on all the students, and now it is gone. In Bloom, the company that was the data collection agency that was collecting the data from all the states, longitudinal data that was coming out of our states, they have gone out of business. because of parents and teachers and organizations complaining about their privacy policies and the information that they were giving out freely to other companies. But, so I believe that possibly people are backtracking and trying to remove that information from the internet. It is available on the Florida site, however, they have all 400 points of data that they are asking for. Our state right now does not comply with all those 400 points of data. We have a C grade, but we will eventually have to comply. So I want to just post my opinion that I do not agree with any of these practices, and I believe that Arizona can. We have highly intelligent teachers and parents and people who are perfectly capable of creating curriculum and testing that can work. We can use things that we've used in the past. We do not have to recreate anything. The education in our past worked great. We were able to be the most innovative country in the world for years and years and years. We just need to get back to basics. And thank you very much.
I have a sophomore at Mount Point High School in the Union School District and a freshman at ASU, finished yesterday. I recently served on the Kyrene School Board for the past 4 years, so I appreciate the board members that are here. I know what kind of effort that takes and time that takes. And I'm very much an education advocate. I do support the Common Core. I did not support I did not vote for Superintendent Huppenthal when he ran several years ago, but I was very impressed with that he did go to all the school districts and across the country, and he became an advocate for a Common Core. He realized, and he went against his own party, he realized that it's a curriculum. It is not, it's a standard, it's not a curriculum. The state makes its own curriculum. We've spent many, many years in Kyrene, that's where I was until past December, getting ready for the Common Core. So by the time we had a Common Core instilled in all the schools, we had already spent the money and the resources, and the teachers had already been trained. And to take a step back from that now, and the students have already switched over to a new test, to start all over, to scratch all that, does a full disservice to our students. They've been taught one way, they've been starting to learn these new things, and if we're just going to scratch that, and start all over again, what's that do to the students who've been learning all these? Second of all, if we had already had high standards, we wouldn't have needed to do this in the first place. Our standards are not high enough. What is the problem with raising our standards? Why can't we do that? That's what the Common Core does. In companies across the United States, you have standards you have to live by. Is that a problem in the corporate world to have high standards? Of course not. That's what we want to have. Why can't we have that in education? I think our number one goal in education, we've got to take the partisan politics aside, and needs to be to support our students in increasing education and increasing their intensity of learning. To create critical thinking is a good thing for our kids, and I'm 100% supportive of Common Core.
Hi, my name is Connie Valpije, and I have a sophomore at Chandler High in the International Baccalaureate program and a fourth grader at Knox. And we are zoned for Hamilton, so I do appreciate the fact that you can cross the boundaries, even though I drive her. But the state that I come from is a little different. And I don't know if there are things that are done differently in other places. And one of the biggest things I hear about here is that the property tax or the taxes are so low here, that's why there's no money. Well, you don't have the lowest taxes in the country, but you have the lowest funding for education. And I find it very troubling what's not being done for the kids here. I hear when schools get ready to start, it's like, oh, is there going to be full-time kindergarten? Is there going to be half-day kindergarten? What the heck? There should be preschool. I don't understand. Well, there are states that provide 20 hours a week of preschool during the school year. So these kids are ready when they go into kindergarten. And to question whether or not you have kindergarten is just mind-blowing. And then there's no art in the elementary school. When did that happen? I mean, you have these raises where you increase the sales tax, like 1% or whatever. Where I come from, that is used to pay for the art and the music in the classroom. It's not to support the teachers or to pay for equipment. That's already done. This is to support art. I met a director of one of your large industrial companies here, whose wife does the art masterpiece. which is, you know, amazing volunteers, but it is not the same as having an art teacher. It just isn't, a weekly art class. And he said that he's noticing that a lot of the graduates coming out of college don't know how to create. They can follow instructions, they can do the work you say, but as far as being innovative, I mean, my kids are not art people. I'm not an art person, but I know what it does for the brain. And that's not, you know, and there's some other things, like dual enrollment. We pay for that. There are like 28 states that pay for dual enrollment. And here we pay for it. Granted, it's probably going to be less than what we would pay for her in college, but, and I'm grateful that it's available, but it's very limited. I mean, why not make it online? Why not work with the community colleges and make some online dual enrollment classes? And I don't understand why it can't be free. But that's, you know, another subject. And then the online school. My daughter does take some online classes through Chandler Unified School District, which grateful to have it. But if you want to take more classes than the 6 classes, you have to pay for that too. And where I come from, first of all, the online, it's not, it is a state program. It is not a little school district program. So what's available is very limited. If you opened it up and made it a statewide program, it would be available. It would be so much more beneficial. I mean, putting these off on businesses is not the answer. Classroom size. Okay, very happy at Chandler High. They do try to keep the classrooms down, but I mean, some of these classrooms have 30, 40 kids in them. This is not the day where the parent goes and says, "What did my Johnny do in your class?" It's where the parent says, "What did you do to my Johnny?" You know, when you keep putting that many kids in a classroom, it makes it difficult for all of them. And there are states that have classroom size amendments. No more than 18 kids in an elementary school, no more than 23 kids in your middle school, no more than 25 in a high school classroom. These are your core classrooms. These are not your music or your language arts, your foreign languages. These are your math, your science, your history, these classes. And so, and just also to mention, and you're not even paying for arterial busing. I mean, it's very limited here. I mean, when you have a ID program or you have a biotech program, parents have to pay for that. So there's a lot of things that I don't think Arizonians realize that are being paid for in other states, and the taxes are pretty much the same, and actually some of the sales tax are less than here. So I don't know where all the money is going, and I would just ask that you let people know what we need to do. What we need to do to make our education better for our kids. And then say, well, that takes money. Well, yeah, it does. It takes money. And the fact that the governor came in and said, I'm going to take money. I didn't think he was going to cut anything, but taking money from Paul to pay Peter, that's cutting. That cuts the support for our teachers. So, that's it.
Way too short for that. I just want to introduce myself. My name is Lauren Clough. I'm a nationally board certified teacher with a master's degree. I teach 4th grade in the Mesa Public Schools. I've been teaching for 10 years. I just want to start out, you asked the question, where did art go? I want to let you know that it went away with No Child Left Behind. When we enacted No Child Left Behind, and we started a system that tested children, punished teachers for their testing, ranked schools, ranked children, and used testing to drive all of our instruction, that is where the art left. I don't know. Yeah, that's no questions. What happened with that? In just the beginning of that, as the culture of our schools changed and we became more test-driven, as we accepted Race to the Top funds, we then pushed it over the edge. We are now committed to more testing. There actually is probably the same amount of testing. It was not, people look at it and say, Common Core has caused this problem. We are actually missing the mark. We shouldn't be divided on whether we're for Common Core or against Common Core. Our problem is the testing. And I speak of experience in the classroom. I'm speaking from what is happening day to day in the classroom when I say that testing does not just happen at the end of the year. Testing happens every single day. Before I start school, I set goals. The goals are based on test scores. Those goals are written and put up in our school so that we can be reminded of them. We have charts on our walls to see if we're making progress on them. We analyze every standard and we write tests for every single standard, not just one, we write two. We give tests on them, we introduce intervention on them, all with the purpose of helping them master those standards. And I'm not talking the Common Core standards, it doesn't matter which standards. It was exactly the same under AIMS, under the old standards. Exactly, no different. Only it was a little bit easier to break apart the old standards and write a test for them. We could have a few more tests because they were a little bit easier to write. Now it's a little bit higher level thinking, it's a little bit harder to write a true or false test for it. So that's the only change. Each week we give assessments, then we give intervention, then we give another assessment to see if people mastered it. We have graphs on our wall to see what percent did, and we're constantly looking at data to drive our instruction. Now, this isn't all bad, because obviously there's a lot of good that can happen from analyzing data and to be knowing where your kids are. But when it comes down to it, that you know that your summer bonus pay is tied to whether your kids pass a test, when your data is going to be put up on the wall for everyone to see, that the district is going to publish lists, and you're going to find out, is my school near the bottom or is my school near the top? Did we move up this year or haven't we? Every single thing as a teacher, what you have to do has to be geared towards those tests. Otherwise, you're the one who's responsible for the school not getting their money over the summer. You look at a lower income school, your chances of getting that full bonus over the summer have just diminished because maybe your English language learners didn't get a high enough score on the test. Or maybe your kindergartners weren't able to say enough letters as fast as they could. And I tell you, I taught kindergarten for 3.5 years. And keeping a child from going to recess because Dibbles testing is coming next week, and that kid still can't phoneme say words. And here he is sitting there wanting to go play, and me saying, I am so sorry, I can't let you because you can't tell me the sounds you hear in the word box. And we're going to keep practicing it until you do. And I have to, because if I don't, then I'm the person on my team who made it so we didn't make our goal. And I'm the person who made it so our school didn't get the funding that the teachers needed over the summer. And it puts you in a hard place because you can't do anything else because they're holding you accountable. Accountable is the big word. We must hold everybody accountable. It doesn't matter if I have kids who just moved from Mexico. It doesn't matter if I have kids whose parents just got divorced or they just moved here or they've been homeless. It doesn't matter because we are being held accountable for those kids and those test scores. And I'll just tell you, as a national board certified teacher, when I went through that process, that is not what they emphasized. They emphasized teaching the whole child. Never was there anything that said what we need test scores. I didn't learn that from my test scores. My test scores sometimes are great, and sometimes my test scores have not been as great. It just depends what I'm working with. And I just want to say that for everyone with the Common Core, the whole thing, we're missing the mark. It's the testing we need to do something about. We need to limit the high stakes testing, and we need to let teachers be creative and treat us like professionals. I know where my kids are, and I don't have to have a test every week. The district, it's not just that, there's district practice tests. My son is taking 10 tests in the next 3 weeks, and he's in junior high. 10 high stakes tests, and I just think that's ridiculous. So I just hope that we can do something in Arizona to change that.
As Nan is the person, I'm going to read the next 5 names so that you can be gathering. So Nan, give me just about 10 seconds. Jennifer Pollock, George Couch, Joe Shope, Jennifer Reynolds, Julia Palazzi. Okay, next 5. There are 4 chairs up here to help with your preparation. Go ahead, Nan.
Hello. My name is Nan Williams, and I am a technology director for an urban school district here in Phoenix area. I am also a board member of the ASTE, which is the Arizona Technology and Education Association, an ISTE affiliate. I am also a member of the Arizona STEM Education Collaborative, which is a collaborative between the Science Teachers Association, the Math Teachers Association, and the Technology Teachers Association. So I appreciate today being able to come and speak to you. For the first time, educational technology has been incorporated into the standards in teaching. Until this last adoption of the Arizona College and Career Readiness ELA standards, educational technology were separate and alone. Our students were more engaged with the content as they are reading text digitally, annotating, taking notes, comparing and contrasting multiple texts, and creating presentations that show what they know. To be prepared for college and career, our students need to have access to a variety of technology skills to prepare them for the 24/7 online world. Due to our capital override, we were able to update our infrastructure and infuse technology into the classroom. However, purchasing technology should not be a burden on the schools. We need dedicated funding for technology, hardware, software, content, coaching, mentoring, maintenance, and management. The state needs to exercise its buying power and provide equitable opportunities for digital content and access for the schools. Our students and teachers had a very positive experience with the Arizona merit testing, and I do agree with the day-to-day testing. I believe that we have a lot of that we need to put down, but on the Arizona merit testing, we had a very positive experience. We had very little technical difficulty, and I know that our students prepare to our district's preparation. Finally, I believe that we are on a path where standards are deep and our students are learning beyond the teach-test curriculum. They have an opportunity to think critically, work collaboratively, and share their knowledge that they've acquired, skills that STEM employers are looking for. We have an opportunity to provide our students with skills for jobs that are wide open. There are so many unfilled STEM jobs right now, and we need to provide our students with skills that will help them fill those jobs.
Good morning. My name is Jennifer Pollock, and I'm a 6th grade writing teacher at Chandler Traditional Academy, Liberty Campus, which is a choice school within the Chandler Unified School District. Prior to the adoption of the Common Core, those of us who were on academic cadres in the Chandler School District had the opportunity to analyze and comment on the proposed standards. Other teachers and interested parties were invited to do so as well. Initially, many of us were concerned that the standards were in a different order than we were used to teaching. Most of us were also disturbed that the standards seemed to be too complex for our students. However, after using the Arizona College and Career Readiness standards in my 6th grade classroom, I support the move to the new standards. With good teaching practice, including modeling expectations, my 11 and 12-year-old students have become adept at writing fact-based arguments and expository text, both of which are skills they'll need in college and in future careers. The Common Core, or the Arizona College and Career Readiness Standards, is a framework for my planning. It's not a national conspiracy to tell me what to teach. To illustrate the local control of education in Chandler, teachers, administrators, parents, and community members were invited to select the curriculum that we would use to address the ELA standards last year. This year, a similar group chose a secondary math curriculum. So how do we know that the students are showing growth? By comparing Arizona students to other students across the country, we will see that Arizona students can be just as successful as those who live on the East Coast. I support the idea of standards-based testing, but I'm dismayed that we will not have the results from the AZ merit until late fall. This does not allow us to use the data to drive our instruction. And it does not allow us to make changes to our lessons for next year's students in a timely manner. When we're making choices or major changes in education, it's critical to have the input from the teachers. It is also vitally important to work out all the bugs before implementation. We've had enough bad press in Arizona. It's time to do the right thing for our education system, for the sake of our students and the sake of our state. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is George Couch. I have the two most amazing boys in the world. I know that you have the most amazing kids, but mine are the most amazing. They go to the Mesa Public School District, and really what I want to do is share kind of their education background and really talk about, as a parent, my perception of what is Common Core. So I have a 5th grader that goes to Mesa Academy, which I think that school is the greatest thing in the world. And before that, he started that in 4th grade. He's now in 5th. Before that, he went to Benjamin Franklin Charter School. I have a 2nd grader who has gone to a combination of Benjamin Franklin Charter School, Sequoia Charter School, and MacArthur Public School in Mesa. So I share that background now to talk about what I think is Common Core. And it's mostly at the K-3 level, and where I think, and me as a parent, I saw it feeling. And so what I did was I took my youngest out of the public school and I put him back in Sequoia because I thought that was a better thing for him, and here's why. 6 weeks into school. First of all, let me say that with Common Core, I don't think this year that nobody knows, I think today nobody really completely knows what Common Core is. At the beginning of the school year, I can guarantee you that the teachers did not know, and that is not the fault of the teachers. Right? My family, my friends that are teachers, and the teachers my kids had, they were very unsure what it was. So however that was rolled out, to me as a parent perception, it wasn't rolled out. So anyway, we go 6 weeks in, we have his parent-teacher conference. And he's got this journal, he's doing a ton of writing. That's awesome, but I'm looking at what he's doing. And handwriting is atrocious, you can barely read it. Can't spell at all, and they don't even grade spelling, right? It's all about the idea. So I talk about the question of what is Common Core? And so one concept I heard early on was that, it's not answering that 2 + 2 = 4, it's the concept of how the concept of things, right? And higher level thinking. And that is awesome. When you're talking K-3, they need foundation, right? If my kid can't spell, and my kid can't read his writing, I understand in the IT area, it's my career, but I saw no foundation. And I'm like, that's not working for me, right? So I took him out of the Mesa Public School, which was MacArthur's an awesome school. But my perception, I also hear this thing about, Common Core isn't a curriculum, right? But Common Core testing is affecting curriculum. There's no way around that. Right. So that's my perception. I have no problem with standards, I have no problem with testing. I just didn't like the way that Common Core was being applied to my kid. And so I took him out of public school and rejection and said,
Hello, my name is Joe Show. I'd like to start with the Diane Douglas flyer that was sent out. And the beginning of that says, my commitment is to return Arizona education control to Arizona families, teachers, and local school boards. And it gives plenty of other information on why that's necessary, and I agree 100%, which is why I was active in voting for you and getting others to vote for you. And the problem I have is exactly that. The control is no longer local when we talk about Common Core. It is pushed down from the Department of Education to the states, all driven by money, and the control goes to the government and to the businesses that the government has hand-selected to make millions and millions of dollars off of our children, our taxes, money that is extracted from me to teach my children is going to buy textbooks and pay for expensive tests. 100 years ago, our children would have been learning things in school that we're not learning now, such as, and I don't know the exact quote, but essentially, is one thing that Abraham Lincoln also professed, that this country is a nation where we are experimenting whether people can govern themselves. And what I keep hearing when I hear standards is that somebody has made a decision that we cannot. I have watched my own children, who have been very good academically, struggle with the requirements of Common Core. I've watched their teachers get let go because they didn't bow down to the rigors and the requirements of the Common Core. Instead, they were teaching to what the children needed. I have been in these Mesa public schools. This is where I was educated, and I am now raising 4 children in the public school system through the charter schools. And I don't see them as a failure, but I have heard for my entire lifetime that our schools are failing our children, they're failing the teachers, that they're underfunded. And to me, that really is just a ploy to get somebody else to come in and say, I will fix the problem for you, and I have to provide another quote from somebody where government is not the answer, government is the problem. The people are the answer. So when we say, where are we going to go? Another quote from a wise man was that no other success can compensate for failure in the home. That means we have a responsibility in our families, but that also means the government is not going to overcome the responsibility when it fails in the home. People, individuals, obviously have that ability. I've seen plenty of examples of people who come from bad homes who have gone on to do great things, but that was their initiative, not those of government. And just to say that every government program I've ever seen has failed in some manner. I'm okay with basic standards, but unfortunately when those are set by governments, they're never appropriate, they're never appropriately implemented, and they just won't do the job. The government really needs to get out of the way and let us return to educating our children and return to taking care of our schools. The local school boards are becoming an enforcement arm for what higher ups want, and they should be a place where we can communicate. We can talk directly with our teachers. We shouldn't have a confrontational relationship with our teachers and school board members. It should be one of open communication that should then go upward from where the people down at the bottom level have the ability to say what is the problem and pass that back up to those at the higher levels. And I appreciate the work that's been done so far to help restore some of that local control that has been wrested away from us. But I am also working locally with my own school's board, and I feel that it falls on deaf ears because everything is controlled by the purse strings. And I will educate my children regardless of what goes on with Common Core. They already are doing great. I don't have a problem necessarily with what other people are doing, but I do have a problem with the fact that it is destroying what was the best open educational system in the world and turning it into a model after Europe or China or somebody else where it is all directed by certain individuals at the top. And I definitely think that we can do better in trusting our teachers and in trusting each other to be able to provide the standard and the support and the things that we need. And that I would be more happy to see the Arizona board and the other board, Department of Education, performing more of an advisory role and not such control.
My name is Jennifer Reynolds. I'm the creator of Arizonans Against Common Core. Thank you so much, Superintendent Douglas, for having this listening tour. This is something that's never happened in the time that I've lived here, the last 20 years. And we're grateful to you and all of those who are here to listen to the people and hear what we have to say. So thank you so much. I have to go against what some of the people have said. It's not just a problem about the standards or the tests. It's the problem with the whole system. They're mediocre standards that will not prepare our kids for a four-year university. They only prepare them for community college. The test dictates curriculum changes. The Common Core standards themselves, in fact, are curriculum. They're how-tos throughout the standards. How to do this, how to solve a problem in math. If you don't do it this way, you are marked incorrectly. There are exemplar texts throughout the ELA standards, which dictate what you should teach for ELA and all the different grade levels. They are curriculum. If you have books listed throughout the standards, that's curriculum. I'm sorry, it is. But I would like to talk about the whole system, the standards, the testing, and the data mining. We need to get rid of the whole enchilada, all of it. So my question to you, Superintendent Douglas, what are you going to do about the data mining? We have a lead researcher who's a lawyer in our organization that has found there is personal identifiable information that's shared with outside entities. All they have to do is submit a paperwork, a form, and this data is shared with outside entities, including the federal government. We are currently at a level 5 of 10, so we're 50% there. So our data is out there. We're being shared with the federal government. I have been in contact with Rebecca Bolnick, the data officer in the Department of Education. She's sending me those contracts. We're gleaning through those contracts right now. But the lies that have been said in our state that we are not sharing personal identifiable information is completely and totally false. So what are you going to do, Superintendent Douglas, to protect our kids? There's no transparency on the ADU website on this data mining. The Data Request Review Board is the board that meets 4 times a year. They're a closed board. They meet 4 times a year. No one's allowed from the public in these meetings. And we are sharing data with Mark Tucker, the the famous Mark Tucker letter with Hillary Clinton, the school workforce, the plan for our country. Really, his company, we are sharing data with currently right now. It's the National Center of Education and the Economy, Mark Tucker's organization. But even more disturbing than that, I have 4 kids in the system. AZ merit testing has been a complete disaster. I testified at the State School Board of Education meeting a couple of weeks ago. It was implemented hurriedly in 21 weeks. It is not even our test, it is Utah's test. We bought rights to Utah's test, so we're not even teaching an Arizona test. We cannot even call it Arizona. It's Utah's SAGE test. The sample test questions are the exact test questions for Florida's FAST test as well. So how can we call it AZ Merit a uniquely Arizona test? It is not an Arizona test. It's a Utah test. It doesn't even match our standards. The scores for the AZ Merit test. Our teachers, our schools are running scared. They're threatening parents. You have to take the test. You have to take the test. You have to have a 95% participation rate or we lose money. The test scores were not even going to be available to the fall, so we don't even have any idea for the next school year what the test scores are going to be. This is ridiculous. Can we not create a test faster than that? And also, teachers and schools are afraid because these test scores are going to be put on the ADE website somewhere. We don't have an A to F accountability system right now, but they're going to be put on the website. And we expect a 50% reduction in compared to Ames test scores. So how is that going to be reported? Is every school in Arizona going to be failing now? Teachers and schools should be concerned about this. I'm also concerned about the testing. We test our kids too much. More than 20 plus hours in the school year goes to testing. We have the Common Core test, the AZ Merit test. We have the Iowa test. We have the Stanford test. We have the Dimples test. We have weekly subject matter tests. We have monthly tests where the kids are compared to their peers in the classroom. How much time in a school year do we need to assess our students? This is ridiculous. I agree with the presenter before me. We should only test them 4 times in their entire school career. We shouldn't have to test our kids every single year. And I believe that is the leading cause of why we cannot retain teachers here in this state. They're fed up with being micromanaged. Let's give our teachers the opportunity to compete. Another thing that I wanted to bring up is another data mining piece out there that's happening in the Kyrene School District. This was my previous district. I pulled my kids out of the school district. They're in charter schools now. They're doing what's called the Positive Behavior Intervention Supports System. This system is supposed to recognize kids who are generally troublemakers and give them gotcha certificates in the hallway to help them toe the line. This is another data mining that our teachers have to participate in, and it's absolutely ridiculous. PBIS for short. Positive Behavior Interventions Supports. This is another thing that's being proliferated. They're doing this on the East Coast, and it's the way to behavioral modify our kids. It's very, very disturbing. Can you stop this? I don't know if you have control of this. Can you stop this? And my last point is, Governor Ducey has initiated the process to get rid of Common Core, replace the Common Core standards. If we replace the Common Core standards, we have to also replace the test. My suggestion to him was to throw out the whole test, because it's not even ours anyways. Let's write our own Arizona standards, our own Arizona test, and let's stop the data mining and keep the data here in Arizona and not share it with the federal government. So thank you.
As Julia is gathering, we'll do the next 5 names. Again, 4 chairs are available. 5th chair up here. Corey Holmberg, George, and I believe it's P-A-U-G-H, Powell, Meg Grimm, John Reynolds, Susan Hicks. We have 32 additional names after this next group. Go ahead.
Hi everybody, my name is Julia Palazzi. I apologize for my appearance, but I'm using my teacher skill of multitasking and getting ready for a run when I leave here. I just wanted to be able to talk to everybody. Thanks for this opportunity. It's a really good venue for people to speak their piece. I just want to share my personal experiences. I teach technology in a Title I school. I've been in Title I for 9 years now. I support Common Core, and I'll tell you why. My school, when I went there 3 years ago, had implemented a program brought in by a certain company whose name I won't mention to boost the score of the school and the test scores. And again, too much testing is all I can say for that. I agree. This company gave the students I see one quality that I could give most of them an A for, learned helplessness. They don't know how to solve problems. They have no critical thinking skills. They can tell you what button to push, because I teach technology, but they don't know why. They don't know how it affects button 2, 3, or 4. So we're going to send these people out into the world, and God willing, maybe one becomes an airline pilot, and they can go in the cockpit and fly the plane, but they can't tell you how it works or how it flies. That's what scares me. Point number 2, Title I is a different beast. I don't care what anybody says. I deal probably 60% of my time with classroom management because of what's going on at home. I had a student falling asleep, 4th grader, in my technology class. And I went up to her, I said, "Are you okay?" She said, "No, I'm exhausted. I had 3 hours of sleep. I'm sleeping in a house with 12 people. I didn't have breakfast." These are the things we're dealing with, home lives that do not support a healthy school environment. I am not only a teacher, I am a parent. And that takes 100% of my energy. And I don't have 100% because I have a job. I have to teach. So Title I is dealing with issues that are going on at home, and these kids are coming to school in a different mental state of mind that a non-Title I school may not have. There are language barriers. I have had students that do not speak one word of English, and I am not allowed to teach in a different language. So I partner them up with somebody that can help them. However, that student then becomes the teacher, in a sense. So we have issues in Title I that need to be addressed directly. We cannot be evaluated on the same scale. It's unrealistic. Third point. I would love all the students I see to be college bound. They're not going to be. That's the reality. So we have to teach skills that allow them to be employed. And technology is one of them. And I tell them all the time, if you want to manage a restaurant, if you want to be an aeronautic engineer, you have technology. You will use it, you need to learn it. We have to have funding and money for technology, particularly with AZ Merit that is all on the computer now. I was pushed out of my lab for 5 weeks so that these kids could come in and test on the computer. And I'm going to tell you, that test is amazing. And it's great for their technology skills, but I had to have critical thinking skills to teach in a room with no technology for 5 weeks. And I did it. So please listen to the teachers. They're in there. They're the ground troops. They're dealing with these things. Our voices are very important, and so are everybody's. But please, we're dealing with these things. And one last story I want to share about Common Core, because I love this story. One of my teachers is a classroom teacher, and she had poor math skills as a child. And I said, "Well, why do you like Common Core?" She said, "I'll tell you why. I was taught one way to do math, and I didn't get it. So now I'm teaching my kids 2, 3, and 4 ways to solve a problem. Now this child gets it, and that child gets it. And they're all getting it, and they can explain why." That is what Common Core is. Thank you very much.
And Mr. Reynolds in our group has deferred from being at the microphone, so our group will be 4. So go ahead, Corey.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Hi, my name is Tori Holmberg. I'm a former classroom teacher and a concerned parent of a kindergarten. My daughter is finishing her 3rd year at Dayspring Preschool in kindergarten in Tempe. All the parents and teachers at Dayspring know how unique and special our school is. It's a tuition-based program, so parents have to spend their own money. It's not free, and it's very expensive. And I feel blessed and lucky that my daughter is able to go there. She has a private kindergarten experience because thankfully we have the Arizona Scholarship Fund, the ASF, that allows parents to use a tax credit to get a private kindergarten experience for free. Why is her experience so unique? And why should that be? Shouldn't all of our kids have the same experience? My daughter has no homework and no testing. She's allowed to grow more confident and learn at her own pace. More time on the playground helped her form friendships, and work out her differences with others while staying physically fit. Couches and tables are in place of the rows of individual desks seen in most classrooms to encourage students to work together and help each other. And with 2 master teachers in the classroom, there is a 9-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio, where students receive the much-needed attention that young children deserve. We have kindergarten friends in the public school who have more than 25 students in the classroom with only 1 master teacher. And by the second week of school, they were testing on spelling. My daughter is just starting out. With first grade coming this fall, she will have 12 years of public education ahead of her. With the devastating budget cuts that have been forced on Arizona schools this year, I'm worried because our children deserve more and not less. Please be our advocate and put money back in our classrooms. Pay our teachers a fair and competitive wage so we can hire more teachers and lower our classroom sizes. And finally, I would like to leave you with this thought. Our children deserve to have a school experience that is more about discovery and wonder, relationships and traditions, challenges and celebrations. It should not be about hours of homework and high-stakes testing. Thank you.
George is the next person in the group. Is George present? All right, Meg. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Meg Grimm, and my youngest is a junior in high school in the Chandler district. And I'd like to share experience, and also I have a few questions. And the experience I would like to share with you is regarding the AZ merit testing. I sent letters to refuse testing for my daughter because I felt the testing was not going to count for anything regarding the school's report cards this year, or the students' grades, or graduation. I figured, they didn't need to go through that testing this year. It put a lot of stress on my daughter. My daughter's a good student. She has a nice day at school. She's a good kid. And the testing was very, very difficult for her. I did send it in. I went back and forth with the principal. He was going to school her out of the classroom. And turns out she went to the classroom and she was not pulled out. I was very upset. I didn't find this out until afterwards. And then for the math part of it, I told her she didn't have to take it because I know that these tests are meant to be failed, especially the math. I have a friend in the Mason district who took the math test the week previous, and there were things on the test that they had not been taught, and so I told my daughter, it's up to you. I didn't want her taking a test. She knew she wanted to take the test. She felt she could do okay on the test. She called me after the test, sobbing in tears. I think what Common Core is doing to our children is inexcusable. I don't think we need to end up like China with middle school and high school children committing suicide on such a high basis. I see it coming if this is what high stakes testing is going to do. You see children committing suicide at higher rates now anyway. I think putting such pressure on them in high school with taking away so much creativity at such a young age and putting so much pressure on kids to conform, to say this is how we will be, is just, it's not what being a kid is about. Kids need to express themselves. And my question is, about the testing company that is written the test for Arizona. Why is a psychological research company writing the test for Arizona? If it's done online, they can manipulate the answers. If they can ask open-ended questions and give you a set of answers that can direct you towards certain answers. So if they're looking for which way are you going to go, it's not a yes or no. Okay, how would you handle this situation? Would you A, B, or C? Where actually the child wouldn't do any of these. They would do another one, but given the answers, this is what they have to answer. So I think that we need to get rid of the testing, especially
Susan is our next presenter, and let me give the next names: Shelley Sundaram, Jane Hancock, Erica Haniko, Judy Wachter, and Roxanne Banta. And we are to less than 60 minutes remaining in our session this morning. Again, there are 4 chairs in the front here to help you.
Terry, about how many cards do we still have?
We have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 28 cards currently, and I'm still collecting.
We've about a little over an hour. So I just asked because I don't want to limit people's time, but I really want to hear from everyone who wants to speak. So if we can please kind of compress our comments just a little bit, that would be wonderful, because I really don't want anybody to miss the opportunity. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Susan Hicks. Thank you, Pat, for listening to us. I appreciate it. Superficially, Common Core sounds good. Creating universal standards that supposedly educate all children for college and career. With these questionable standards come a variety of problems which the supporter and administrators of the Common Core have disingenuously denied. The American Principles Project released an analysis last year on Common Core exposing that in fact Common Core is not internationally benchmarked, robust, aligned with college and work expectations, rigorous, or evidence-based. These buzzwords are used and promoted as talking points to expand the income and profits of educational corporations and the progressive socialist movement that is in fact trying to indoctrinate our children to their political agenda. We need state-led, teacher-led, and parent-led standards. We don't need the national or federal government dictating what we studied in the state of Arizona for money. Government money should not be the carrot that drives curriculum and testing. It is a fact that if they will control education if it's all based on a state receiving federal funds. These standards are the vehicle that do drive the curriculum and the testing. It is not just a set of standards. It's being used to drive curriculum and testing. And parents need to step up to the plate. I've heard about the state should pay for this, it should be free. No, the state shouldn't. Parents need to step up to the plate. They should. If they want to send their kids to preschool, send them to preschool. It's not the state's job to pay for it. Or all-day kindergarten. If you want to be parents, you need to pay for preschool. You need to pay for all-day kindergarten. And I appreciate what Ducey and the legislature has done in controlling the expenses on education. It is the school boards and the administrators and the superintendents of school districts that are wasting money. It is not going to the teachers, and it is not going to the classroom. Ask your superintendent and your school boards where their money, your money, is going, that they're spending with your tax dollars. Shelley? Thank you.
Hello. Hello, good morning. Thank you for coming. Thank you. And hearing our voices today. My name is Shelley Sundaram, and I oppose Common Core. My desire is that Arizona would be a leader in the country and write our own standards. My daughter is in kindergarten and attends a public school. I have great concern for 2 specific reasons this year. One, her Common Core workbook is not being sent home. Number two, she is doing work that is way beyond her years. What is so secretive about the workbook? I know that some of the workbook is ridiculous, as I have seen it myself in the workroom. The second, I have an example from one of the 2 Common Core worksheets that have come home this year. Try to visualize a worksheet that has the numbers 8, 9, 12, and 16 with a column. And they cut out dice. And number 1, kindergartners ranging in age from 5 to 6 have to cut them out. They need to glue them and add the numbers, the numerals 8. So for example, they glued 4 plus 4, then they needed to show their work. So 4 plus 4 equals 8, no problem. 9, 5 plus 4, they glue the die. 5 plus 4 equals 9, they show their work. Then they get to 12. 5 plus 5 and 2, so they glue those die down. 5 and 5 and 2, then they show their work. That's getting a little complex. Not to mention they have no room to show their work. Now, 16, you have a die 4, and a die 2, and a die 4, and a die 2, and a die 4, with absolutely no room to glue them all onto space, plus show their work. So she did not show anything. And I'm thinking, my stars, they're only on their worksheets that have come from previous years, only have like 4 plus 2, equals 6. So I'm thinking, my stars, this is crazy and is going into, double digits. So, interesting. So, mind you, these are kindergartners, and not every child fits into a federal box. And I heard a wise man once say that when it comes to socialism, no child will be left behind. So, back to Doug Ducey, expanding just a tad. I'm happy that he is putting more money into the classroom, and I'm happy that he is cutting administrative. I'm happy.
Excuse me, let's be respectful of all speakers, please.
I'm happy that he is cutting administrative pay, because I do believe that is something that school districts need to have more control of. For example, the superintendent in Gilbert is getting, I believe, $200,000 a year. I do believe that districts need to cut top administrative positions, or at least cut their pay. They definitely need to put teachers' pay first, as they are the first line, as well as the kids. And those are the 2 most important people when it comes to education. And they pretty much are treating teachers poorly, in my opinion. And I do believe the standards can be written by educators, which I don't understand why this AZ merit test was written by a behavioral health company by the name of AIR. And I am very uncomfortable with the personal identification number and the room to workplace, and I do not want information collected by with my daughter, and I will do my best effort not to have her be one of those children that participates in any of those testing, as she has a few years before that comes. And I definitely know that this test, from what my understanding is that it does not measure what they learn in the classroom. And having gone to school to be an educator, it really saddens me to hear right now that teachers are not giving free will to teach what they went to school to learn, and they don't have free reign. That's just what my understanding is, and I value my daughter's teacher and the teachers in the school, and I very much appreciate them, and yay for Teacher Appreciation Week. So thank you to the teachers. And thank you for coming.
And if you have electronic versions of the homework, if you send them into the website address that we have there, that'd be great.
Sure, thank you so much. And thanks again for everybody who's coming today.
Jane?
Hi, I'm Jane Hancock. I'm a grandparent, top job now, a retired educator. I have grandchildren inside the Paint Creek School District and in the Chandler Gilbert School District. And I'm very aware of what is happening in the classrooms, at least in the kindergarten let's see, 7th, 12th, 11th, 10th, 10th, 12th. And those grandchildren are, I interact with them. Okay, so now I was in education, and during the time that I was a teacher, I experienced the struggle of helping children learn who did not have activity in their home that supported education. And so my very first thing is I want to commend all the parents, even those with whom I disagree with your positions. I commend you for being active in your children's education. That is the most important thing. Secondly, I worked with Title I children. And what I've heard today saddens me, because I believe that where we're failing your children is not providing the kids in the classrooms to be equally on the ground with them academically. And by that I'm saying you work with them. You see what they take home from school and you respond back to school, sometimes positively, sometimes not. But what I'm hearing is you don't understand that children who come to school who have no support, their communication stays in the backpack, doesn't get pulled out, the parent doesn't respond back to it. Now we're dealing with making those children reach the same level of achievement as the children whose parents are very actively involved. Years ago, when the charter schools first came into the East Valley, I was a principal at that time, and I was threatened by the number of children who were being pulled out of my school or the charter school that had started. So I studied up on it, looked a little bit at what were they doing that we weren't doing. And the thing that I want to tell you is the disappointing thing was we had children returning from the charter schools. They would be there for, there were only 2 in my area. They would be there for maybe 6 weeks, 8 weeks, then come back to our school. And part of the problem was the parents who had taken the children from our schools had thought that the school that they were taking them to was going to be, they weren't going to have to be involved any greater amount of time than they were involved with our public school. So some of those children who came back, the parents didn't work out because they couldn't put in the hours of dedication at their charter school that would make their child achieve. I'm sorry, my mouth is dry. The second group of children that came back were children who had special needs. And when you're a public school, if they're in your attendance area, you always take the children. You have to take the children, so when they fail to match the children that have gone to the other school, the private school, then the parents give up and bring them back to you. That's great. That's fine, because we want those children to have a chance for their education too. Okay, as the years have gone on, and I've watched it as a teacher, as a, oh, thank you. Should have been drinking my water, but I didn't know. As I've watched from all of the different angles, the one thing that I see still happening 30 years past the time, now it's been 40 years since the past time I became a teacher, is that we keep cycling back to whose children are they. You know, we live in a country, we're in a state, we're in a town, we're in a country, and I feel that you have to recognize that your children have to know what the country's all about too, and how they belong in that country. And as long as you keep pulling them out, showing them how we're different from each other, instead of how we're like each other, I fear for their future. I'll be long gone by the time that my grandchildren are facing what we face as adults now. It terrifies me to think we're about fear, we're about, unless it's my child, I won't be involved. Unless it's my child, I'll just have to, they can take care of them. And then every child gets to be born, every child gets to be in poverty. Is that really what we're about? That's what I'm afraid of for the future. I went to, with a group of children, high school, and a couple of them were in college, before the Iron Curtain was lifted, and I went into Russia, Poland, the Germanys, and I realized how frightening it is when the people have no voice because it's silenced. But look at what we have. You say it's government when it comes from the federal. You say it's government when it comes from the state. We taxpayers say it's government when it comes from the county because that's how we have to pay. We pay the taxes. The same people pay for all of it. And it's us. It's the teachers who are working as well as you. And by the way, my daughter, who's a kindergarten teacher, do you know that she's in a district where for 8 years, not one penny added to their salary? People who can move on. That's disgusting. That's disgusting. To have people who are, as you said, most important people, the connection is with the classroom teacher. And I totally agree with you. The parent and the classroom teacher, their relationship is the one that counts. And there are people who are deserting. I find that appalling. You can blame it on the district level, but look at what the funding is. If 53% of the money already goes into the classroom, and the other money that we're talking about includes special needs, aids, technology in the classroom, transportation. Children can't go to school because they can't get on a bus to go to school. Really, that's what we want to cut? I say, take a better look at this. Give all the children an opportunity, not your selected ones who are blessed with great parents who are involved. And there are many pathways to success, but you need to look at the children that your children have to sit next to. Don't be afraid of them because they're different. Look at how they're alike and how Americans must be united in looking at the rest of our population. Let's not desert each other. Please don't desert each other.
My name is Erica Canonico, and I have 2 children in the elementary schools for Chandler School District. I originally put my name down. I had a few questions to ask, but that is not a question form, so maybe you can put on the frequently asked questions, or I can write it on that page. But I think I'll say them at the end anyway. But I want to add a few comments because I'm here to support you, Diane, and the rest of the people to rewrite the standards for Arizona. The main thing I hear from a lot of the teachers and the teachers in my kids' school is that Common Core, a lot of the key words that are in their development programs, Common Core is a set of high standards. It'll develop critical thinkers, which sounds wonderful and it's great. But I had the privilege of listening to Dr. Stotsky and Milgram last year, who were actually only the two people on the validation committee for Common Core who have an educational background. The rest were business people. And they said the standards were actually being lowered, subpar compared to the standards that we used to have. And I also hear people saying that our education standards are being rewritten to develop about 70% of the people that can actually work in some of the jobs that we need, service jobs or tech jobs, which we need all kinds of employers in our state. But why not teach the cream of education to everybody and allow all students to be offered the best, the highest standards? And then if they're overeducated, it's better. It creates better people. I think that's what's created our country to be the most innovative country, the highest amount of Nobel Prize winners than other countries who have a different work ethic, like China, but don't produce the innovative people that we need. I also am opposed to standardized testing. I agree that we need some standardized tests, maybe every 4 years or something, but the standardized testing that my kids have gone through have been benchmark testing, the actual testing. They've had practicing towards the test. I calculated the days and weeks that it took out of their learning and curriculum. Mostly, they learned no science or history. It's been basically all the math and reading that they're going to be tested on. I think it was about 6 to 8 weeks total out of their 9 months or so of education going towards practicing for the tests. I feel that this past year, they haven't learned as much as they should and getting a well-rounded education. Also, the money tied to the testing and to teachers' bonuses and to getting free textbooks from these textbook companies, I think it's created a lot of competition, teachers feeling pushed by their district and principal to get 95% of the students tested. And as we've seen around the country, there's been a lot of cheating going on because of the testing. I think in Arizona, we're looking into several schools and they're changing test scores. And I think it's all because of the funding. Teachers' bonuses pay school ratings, and money should not be involved or tied to high-stakes testing. I like the idea of each person can take their own tax money and apply it to the school of choice. That would make the schools more competitive and I think increase the standards as well. And my questions are, just real quick, if we repeal Common Core, what % of federal funding would be removed? Is it just a percentage? Is it all of it? If we repeal Common Core, does that include the state longitudinal data system? Or is that a separate entity that would have to go away as well? And I was wondering if it's true, if Milgram and Stotsker actually agreed to help us rewrite some of the standards for Arizona. And I appreciate everything you're doing, and I support Diane Douglas and her efforts. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Judith Bochazer, and this is really going to be short and sweet. Okay. I believe that you have the power, or at least you have the influence to put through the inflation adjustment we want in court back into the schools. And I'm asking you to do that right away.
We'll do the next 5 names as Roxanne is getting orchestrated there. Roberta Reed, Wendy Peterson, Steve Hillman, Jill Humphreys, Beth Colzette. Again, chairs are up front.
Hello, my name is Roxanne Banta. Trained as an educator, come from a family of educators as well. And so it's right down to my core. I feel very strongly about public schools and teachers. Arizona schools are far behind and are underfunded. Some people in the state government even want to dismantle the public school system. I want Arizona children to succeed. I believe in the public schools, in our teachers, and in Common Core. They just need to be funded properly. With Common Core, our children will be able to compete in the future. And with Common Core, we will have standards and still have flexibility. From what I understood from the research, it's 85% of the standards, and we have 15% of improving them, and having our local flexibility. With Common Core, in fact, requires our children to, I want to make it short, since I know that there's other people in here. With Common Core, one of the things that I thought was really interesting that it mentioned is that it's going to teach the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights for all our students, which will also not only become critical thinkers, they're going to become good future citizens. And they are going to realize that we are the government, whether we're talking state or federal government. We're the ones who vote our representatives in. There's no federal government against the state government. We are all in this together. Our founding fathers realized we are the United States.
My name is Roberta Reed. I'm a resident voter and taxpayer in the Chandler Unified School District, and my comments echo those of the previous two speakers. I am frustrated by the actions of our governor and legislature in continuously cutting funds for the public education system in Arizona. We as citizens and taxpayers have made our wishes clear. We want a good public education system. In 2000, we approved a resolution calling for annual inflation adjustments to the school funding formula to achieve that, to assure that we have good education. And the legislature has failed to honor that law for the past several years. The courts have ruled that their failure to raise the school budget was illegal and has ordered them to restore that money to the schools, and still they refuse, taking it to another court and hoping that court will rule in their favor and excuse them from breaking the law. This is not what we voted for. We look to you as Superintendent of Public Instruction to be the voice that demands adequate funding for our public schools. Good education seems to be a convenient campaign slogan for our legislature and our governor. For the rest of us, it is way more important. It is our future.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Wendy Peterson. I'm speaking, of course, as a taxpayer, but also as an educator, a parent, and most importantly, a grandparent. I want you to know a little bit about my history. I am a fourth-generation teacher in Arizona. My great-grandmother graduated from Tempe Normal School in 1912 and taught at Alma School in Mesa. My grandmother taught in Mesa. My mother and father also taught in Mesa and Gilbert. And I'm also happy to say that my niece is a fifth-generation teacher, despite the fact that her father tried to talk her out of it because she would never make enough money. When she received her first paycheck almost 2 years ago, my brother, who makes quite a bit of money, called me to make sure it was indeed a full paycheck because she can't pay rent on her apartment with that paycheck. She now has her license in real estate. Even though she's a gifted teacher, I am so afraid that because of our current environment that she will leave. And that frightens me. I want her to continue as the fifth generation in my family to teach. I have extensive knowledge of the standards. I have been a teacher. I've been in education for 26 years, 30 years, sorry. 26 of those were in the classroom teaching English language arts. I now teach teachers how to make the standards, the ELA standards, work in their classroom. I have the opportunity to visit classrooms, and I see remarkable things. I was in a third grade classroom last week. The students were having the most incredible conversations about their reading. Professional conversations, academic conversations. They were speaking to each other, saying things like, I agree with you, except I notice the evidence in the text says. Third graders were not doing that years ago. I have the privilege of having a mother who is absolutely amazing. She was in education for 42 years. We talk education still. She and I both agree that the standards that we have today are the best we have ever had in education. Could we sit down and tweak them and work them? Sure. I believe all documents should be living documents, just like our Constitution. But to throw the baby out with the bathwater is ridiculous. I don't know, as an ELA person, how we would start completely over and throw those standards out. I don't know how we would do it. I can't even imagine doing that. For my granddaughters, I have 2 granddaughters, a kindergartner, a 6-month-old, and another grandchild on the way. I want the best for them. And teachers who are supported, teachers who are given a voice, a government that works for us, not against us, will provide the education that my granddaughters and great-grandchildren need. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Please keep listening to teachers.
Good morning. My name is Steve Hillman. I'm a Gilbert resident, also an executive in a local aerospace company. You can tell by the white hair, I've been doing this for quite a few years. Thank you. I wanted to give you a different perspective. We've heard a lot from educators and people associated with the education system this morning. I'm going to come at this from the standpoint of a businessman. As I operate as an executive here in Gilbert, and for us to expand, we need highly educated, world-class competitive employees. A little bit of history here. If you go back in business, about 25 years ago, American business was faced with a horrible competitive threat. Finally, we woke up and said, you know, we're going to have to get better. And so things like continuous improvement were adopted. Key metrics, measurements. We came to the conclusion that if you don't measure, you can't improve it. And you never get to A. It's not static. The world is not static. You got to keep continuously improving. So not only do you need standards, but you need to keep raising the standards because that's what's going on in the world. Certainly, I'm here to support Common Core because I think Common Core is the first step. Common Core is not some anonymous federal bureaucrat-directed education. It is standards. If you read the standards, they are that. They are standards. From my perspective, for over 20 years now, I've traveled the world on business. Been from France to Malaysia, from Italy to Russia, to China, and I continue to engage in international business. We live in a global community. You're free to not like globalization. That's your choice. What you're not free to do is to deny that it exists, because it does. That's the world's direction, and we've got to recognize it and be competitive in it. We live in a flat world. If you've ever read Thomas Friedman's book, read it. If you haven't read it, that's the future of us and all of our children. I want for my grandsons, which I have 4, and my granddaughter, to be measured against the best in the world. I don't want them to be measured against some local standard, not against the student sitting next to them, but the student in Shanghai. I want them to be compared to the best. I want the bar raised to a global standard, not a Common Core standard, a global standard, not some watered down local effort. Global standards for all public schools, but quite honestly, this country has been great because of public education. Do not destroy public education. Raise the standards. In the global future, the smart will prosper. Those who are stupid will fail. That's a fact of life. The real threat for our future in the United States is that we may not be the best. Common Core is a start. Let's keep it there. Lastly, I guess I'd like to ask how we can be the best in the world when we're the lowest per capita in the country with state spending. That is disgusting. It is unconscionable. Unconscionable. We've got to step up because what I look for is my grandkids, and I know because I've been around the world, and I continue to go around the world, it is competitive, and it will continue to be more competitive. So how do we need standards? We need to think about them continually increasing. The bar has got to get higher. The bar is never too tough. If you can't pass the test, study harder, be better. Lastly for you, what's your legacy going to be? Globally competitive or letting us slide into a third world country? It's up to you.
Hi, my name is Jill Humphreys. I'm a member of the Gilbert Public Schools Board. However, my views are my own and I do not speak for any other board members. I just have to make that clear. I do want to address, someone mentioned our Gilbert superintendent. Yes, we are very happy to have her leadership. And yes, she did command a salary. When you go through 4 superintendents in 1 year, you have to expect to pay a little bit more than other districts. I want to just, my thoughts are on par with those last few speakers. I support the standards. I do think we need to look at making our curriculum and our standards rigorous for our students. Only 6 of our students graduate from high school and go on to university prepared to graduate in 4 years. Believe me, you'd rather have those tears at your kitchen table over homework than through a phone call from the college when you can't help with your child because you don't understand. I support standards that have critical thinking, problem solving, and collaboration. I support work towards helping our teacher vacancy rate and raising teacher pay and staff pay. As Target and Walmart raise their minimum wage, we have many people in our district that are working for less than minimum wage of $9 an hour. And so we need to think about all of our staff members, teachers and staff, because in 2009, our one blessing was we had to really cut our budgets, but everyone was cutting, so people were flocking to education. Now that our economy is improving, we are losing valuable people and we need to be able to replace them. And I'm sure that everyone here will agree that whatever the difficulties are in education, higher salary would help teachers stay, would help staff stay. So, lastly, I think it's very important that we in Arizona work on resources. I have lived in other states and I applaud that person that showed what other states are doing. I am appalled at the paltry sum that we give our kids. And we have to talk about state funding. We need to talk about equitable funding between public schools and charter schools, because at the current time, if you are a public school district like mine that's lost an override and go down to state funding only, you are thousands of dollars behind what other districts are able to do, and it's very difficult to be competitive. We put our education community into a competitive environment by having choice, but we haven't also provided the funding so that if districts don't pass their overrides and their bonds, they are struggling, as we see in the paper daily. Apache Junction, Peoria, Gilbert, those are only a few of the districts that are struggling to find ways to have enough in their budget to educate their kids. I believe we do need our children globally competitive. It's not only their future, it's ours as a city. If we cannot bring those businesses in and have higher paying jobs, we will slide. We're 41st in the country. The jobs coming to Arizona right now are low paying jobs. So we need to change that. Thank you.
Okay, she's approaching with the next 5. Nora Ramirez, Tom McKinley, Phyllis Carr, April Martinez, and Sherilyn Cook. Again, we have 5 chairs in the front, as you can gather.
Terry, what are we looking like?
We are fine on time. I had a correction given that we're really slated to go until right about noon, and we have about 25 after the group of 5 that are going to start, so you can judge accordingly. Okay?
So probably, really, we're getting to the point where just a couple
Couple
minutes
minutes.
each. And Mary, I need to ask you that. And I'm really sorry that we have to do this, but I really want everybody to have their chance to be heard. So, thank you.
Hi, my name is Beth Polzak, and I'm a parent of 2 children in the Chandler School District, a 5th grader at Knox Gifted Academy and a 2nd grader at Jacobson. I also am speaking to you today as an educator. I've been in education for 21 years. I was in the classroom for 15 and have now been a math coach at the district level professional development in Tempe Elementary. And I was going to speak to you a little about my boys' experiences, and those have been positive experiences, I would say, with Common Core, and especially focusing in math. But I'm going to skip that because just my passion for math. Anyone in here that knows me knows that I could spend the rest of the afternoon talking with all of you. But just to kind of keep it short, I just want to say that because of my experiences specifically in math instruction, and it is both in my job and also just personally, parents that I've come across in soccer and one of the things at school, and really trying to explain where the basis is of the standards, and especially in math, because that's my focus. I believe that these standards really provide the necessary framework for benchmarks from kindergarten through 8th grade. There are less standards at each grade level, but because of having those less standards at each grade level, teachers are able to focus deeper on each of the topics. And there is a continuation in these standards, both within each grade level, so that we're not teaching just separate topics, but things relate to each other. Just giving a specific example of that, in 3rd grade, we are really working in geometry and teaching area in conjunction with multiplication, so they're seeing that relationship, and that's going to build a foundation for their grades. And not only within a grade level, but through the grade levels, the skills build. I know a big stickler for educators and teachers has been, how come in 2nd grade, my children, I was taught them to teach our traditional algorithm that we all know of, add the 1s place, add the 10s place. Why is that not a standard to the 4th grade? It's not a standard to the 4th grade because we are building a number sense foundation up until 4th grade, and they truly will understand it. And what I acknowledge is this is a new way of not just teaching for our teachers, but learning for us as parents. And I will tell you that 3 years ago, when I started working with teachers in Tempe, I would say the vast majority of them, if they weren't how they felt about Common Core, it was an apprehension of how do I teach differently. But more and more we see, not only as we're working and we all understand these standards better, we have a deeper understanding, a deeper conceptual understanding of math. And I acknowledge that we as educators have to work not just with fellow educators, but with parents so that we all are going to have a better understanding. And I can go on many other aspects of it, but I just want to close with one other point in agreement with many other people that have said that the standards are the standards. They are not our curriculum, and unfortunately, they are not the testing. Yes, testing ends up being a part of it, and I wish in the perfect world that all of that could be completely separate, but I hope that as we attack all these other issues that have been brought up today, testing being one of them, that we seriously take a look, read the content standards, read the explanations, go into the documents that are produced, and you go on the U of A website to see them, the progressions that explain, and you can see the continuation through the whole thing. And as one speaker said, is don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. But I acknowledge there are things we can tweak, and let's do that, but do it in an educated fashion and not just say, scrap it and start completely over. So once again, I thank you for the opportunity to speak, and thank you.
Good morning, I'm Nora Ramirez, and I am president of the Arizona Association of Teachers of Mathematics. I'm also a member of the STEM Collaborative, the Arizona STEM Collaborative here in the state, and I'm also executive secretary of a national organization, Phobos Mathematics for All, which is concerned about all children learning mathematics. I want to speak to you about 2 things, and hopefully I'm going to read it to make sure I get everything in the amount of time you're giving me. So one is about teachers, and the second thing is about standards. The first thing is like teachers, I want to make sure we all understand that teachers, like other professionals, like other professionals, continue to learn. Often they're doing it on their own time. Often they're doing it during breaks. They're there on Saturdays. They're there on Wednesday evenings. And they're there in summer vacation. Sometimes they're paying for this themselves. And that's on their current salary. Teaching is the only profession where instead of stealing materials from work to use at home, one takes materials from home to use at work. I think we have to understand the dedication of our teachers. In teaching, in order to advance, one needs to become an administrator. How would you like it if you knew that the specialist you needed for a medical procedure was no longer practicing, but they went on to administration? Often, that's what happens in teaching. We lose some of the most talented teachers to administration. We need to keep those teachers working with our students. How might our state advance talented teachers, yet keep them in the classroom? Professionalism. There are those who believe that because they went to school, they know about teaching and learning. Yet those same individuals would never allow someone who had been treated for cancer for 12 years to design their treatment for cancer, would they? I am saying that we are professionals. We need to be listened to. We need to be included. We have experiences with students for many, many years. We have advanced learning. We've researched in our classrooms. We've researched based on what's going on all over the nation. And our professionals need to be a part of leading the way. And that's not saying we don't want input from the public. That's not saying we want to do it by ourselves. But we are the professionals. On the issue of accountability, I don't want to add to it. Someone spoke very nicely about accountability earlier. We forget to add others who are also accountable to those student test scores. Namely, our state legislatures. The support from all the education system, all the levels of the education system, the public, and the parents. They are not part of this system that we use to determine the teacher pay. And I think that needs to be addressed. So therefore, I've said all these things because we need our State Department of Education to lead the way in increasing salaries, in respecting teachers, in retaining teachers, in reducing the high levels of unnecessary stress teachers are always under, and in engaging education professionals in developing and enacting policies and practices that are research-based with the intent that all of our children in Arizona can learn. On standards, I want to comment that as I listened to a lot of things people presenting on standards today, it really wasn't about standards. It was about how people are implementing the standards. It's about the materials people are using. That's not the standards. That is actually not. People say our standards, our current standards aren't rigorous. So let me tell you, in November, there's this little kindergarten kid, after being taught using the Common Core state standards in November. Now, I want you to all think about a November kindergarten kid, all right? Is saying, well, they're reading a story about, and it was about 4 + 5, and he says, oh, the answer's 9. And the teacher said, how do you know it's 9? And the little kindergarten kid in November is able to say, because I know 4 and 4 is 8, and 1 more is 9. That's one other thing, and just one more example about the standards. If you really look at our 8th grade standards, they're really almost an algebra course. And anybody that knows mathematics would know that those standards are rigorous. Secondly, our standards require time. Okay, well, I got that part in. Okay, so thank you very much.
Good morning. Good morning, still morning. I'm Tom McKinley, retired Air Force Colonel, 30 years, and teaching out 10 years where I was teaching Air Force Junior ROTC, and now I'm teaching advanced mathematics at Hamilton High School. With my Air Force training, I'm going to go with 3 main points. Point number 1, to reemphasize the discussion about the experience one person had with the charter school system. The role of public instruction is to support all forms of public instruction, not one over another. That said, the Arizona system of implementing the charter school, where your budgets are based on how many students you have, and there is no control on whether a charter school that is established to give parents choice about getting a good education can set up in an area where you have a good school and draw students away, reducing their budget, undermines traditional public education. We need to give charter schools to improve education where it needs to be improved, not just where they want to make the small amount that the law allows them to make a profit on. Number 2, standards are standards. Like my aerospace friend, who I can relate to because of my Air Force experience. We are in a global economy and in a mobile society. The Constitution of the United States that I swore to defend includes the right for the federal government that we the people gave, to regulate commerce. In education, our product is our diplomas, and we have to meet the standards across the nation to support our economy and to bring business here. So the standards have to be common. The fact, and the federal government can dictate that as necessary, but to their credit, they gave it to the states to develop the Common Core. The sad part was they had to be heavy-handed about it to get the states to do it. The standards are standards. That's exactly what they are. The issue would be the curriculum with school boards control, and it would be the teacher in the classroom implementing the standards, and the testing is an area that can certainly be discussed because you have to assess the standards once they exist. Those are areas that should be concerned, not necessarily the standards themselves. They are much better than they were. I had people coming to me who could not read non-fiction. They did not know how to use a textbook. The standards address that, so we can't throw that type of standard away. Point number 3, money. We don't pay teachers enough money. We don't put enough money into the education system. I am not blind to the fact that there are good schools and bad schools. There are good teachers and there are bad teachers, and nobody wants to teach somebody who is not doing the job a large amount of money. But I have high school seniors I work with, and not one of them are talking about becoming teachers. And the reason being is our society, right or wrong, focuses on instant gratification, and therefore, if the job isn't attractive, that's not what they're training themselves for. If you're a supervisor in charge of a large organization, you can't fire the bad teacher because it isn't like there's hundreds of good teachers waiting to get a job. The career has to be attractive, and the standards, like them or not, society has set up. We need to get the money in education if we are going to be competitive, if we're going to retain the good people and attract the upcoming people to actually get there. We can't take the money away from them.
Hi, my name is Sherilyn Cook, and I am a parent of 2 kids in the Peoria Unified School District. So I'm talking the northern part. quick observation, I'm totally nervous, I hate to speak in front of people. Very quick observation, I've listened to everybody who's either been in education or is in education right now, are 100% in support of Common Core. I'm a parent, and I am 100% against the Common Core. And I see that it's so very, 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 very sad because I need teachers. I respect my teachers. My teachers and my kids are the most wonderful things. They've done amazing jobs with my kids. And I hate to see this huge disconnect between parents and teachers. That's something that's obviously coming up because of the Common Core curriculum. At least I don't understand everything that the teachers say because I'm not in education. I'm a small business owner and a parent. I can only tell you my son or my experience, my own personal experience in my home with the Common Core curriculum and standards. Like I said, I have 2 children. They're both tested gifted via the COGAT. They're highly gifted. My son this year, he tied for second in a math benchmark test. And we are part of a higher, it's called a HEAT track or a higher educational achievement track in our school. And their definition of HEAT, or this higher education, as I put it in quotes, is using the New York State standards worksheets, this math worksheets, these black and white worksheets that what I've come to find out are the free curriculum for Common Core. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but that's what I found. What I heard is the writer of the Common Core curriculum or standards gave out this free curriculum for the New York State Standard Common Core. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, what came from that is my son, my 5th grade son, who is a straight A student. We're sitting at the kitchen table for hours every single night, hours, figuring out a method of solving 2 plus 2. It takes 30 seconds to do this, and suddenly we're hours drawing boxes, graphing things, just utter nonsense, trying to solve the simplest remedial math that's been turned into this, we don't know what in the world it is. I mean, what is this stuff? It's right here on this little thing. It used to be 243 minus 87. What is this 87 plus 3 equals 90? Trying to get the same answer. It's the same answer, but it takes 3 times as long. That is not productive. That is not what business owners need, is turning is completely opposite of any kind of productivity. I would never hire somebody who did a math problem this way. It's beyond ridiculous. Second thing is that maybe if we don't understand that, we're talking about parents being partners with teachers. Common Core curriculum is isolating parents away from teachers. We can't help our kids with this. What is it? You know, it's not better. It's what is this? If you want to isolate parents, then they're like, the teacher's like, don't worry about it. We'll just teach them. No, I want to be involved in my kids' education. They're my kids. They're my kids, and I'm going to decide what they're going to do. I appreciate teachers' help and I appreciate the input, but they're my kids. And if I'm not being able to participate in their education or be a part of it or even have it make sense to me in my own world, then that you know, the partnership there has ended. I also disagree with the high stakes testing. I forgot to tell you my son's story. He's a hockey player. He's a big, tough hockey player kid. He's in 5th grade. He's tough. He likes to play hockey. My son was so frustrated with these worksheets, the methods that they were doing in these worksheets. He was reduced to tears every single night. Absolute beside himself. His grades started dropping. I was rocking him in a rocking chair to try to get him to go calm down enough to go to sleep. This is a highly gifted child. He's very smart. He got straight A's, and this is what this standards, which actually amount to curriculum, have done to him. I'm upset. It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart to lose the connection with teachers, to have this disconnect between parents and teachers. It breaks my heart that my son is so, you know, he's been pushed to the edge. I think somebody mentioned suicide with children. Pushed to such stress and such overwhelming stress with this curriculum that he can't even settle himself down. He's being his school, he doesn't even want to do school anymore. And how corrective is that? We overwhelm kids to the point where they don't even want to go to school anymore. They're so overwhelmed with this curriculum. So, and then not only that, but and things that I haven't been able to research myself, I looked on the websites to see data mining. What do we need to be data mining for? Our kids' education, our own personal education. It's none of the government's business. They're my kids. They need to. They're commercializing things. They're trying to make more money for people. I understand teachers need to make more money. I also understand that we came from a country that didn't have school districts. Abraham Lincoln didn't go to a school district. He wasn't taught by a formal education. We need it, yes, and we are global, but we came from people being innovative and learning and not being pushed down by top-heavy government telling us exactly what to do and how to do it, and how being overwhelmed with testing with it. So I'm sorry, I'm very upset. Okay, I will definitely, but yes, I agree with just too much testing with our schools, and yes, thank you.
We are to our last 28 minutes. We have 21 cards, so you can do that now. Let's check. Daniel Martinez is the name that I had called. Come on up. You're going to be the first in the group. Terry Kimball, Annette Oxier, Blake Saka, Joe Gusick, Gianna Hutchins, Mia Hans. And again, I'll try to wave at you about 1 minute in, so that if there's something critical that you do want to be sure that's conveyed, you have a sense of where you are, okay? Okay, go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Daniel Martinez. I live in Gilbert. I am a proud recipient of a great public school education, including a Bachelor of Science and Master of Arts in Education from New Mexico State University. I worked for 41 years in New Mexico, Colorado, and Arizona as a teacher in student services and as an administrator. Our 3 daughters graduated from the Mesa Public School. I retired 5 years ago from the Maricopa Community Colleges after teaching English as a second language, developmental reading, and critical reading. However, more importantly, I have been substituting at the Higley Unified School District this year. Higley Unified School District is rated as the #1 large public school district in the entire state of Arizona, #1. All 8 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, and 2 high schools are A-rated. 2 schools are A+ schools of excellence. Higley Unified School District offers preschool, kindergarten, Mandarin, language immersion, and advanced placement courses. However, in the elementary schools, art, PE, and music are not funded by the Arizona legislature. Yet, the middle schools and high schools, which teach AP, dual language, technology, graphic design, full-day kindergarten, foreign languages and arts, all require local support, money, which many districts cannot obtain. What have I seen as I've substituted in the Higley Unified School District? Again, the #1 large public school district in Arizona. At Cooley Middle School, I witnessed a class of yearbook and publications where Liz Holloway is trying to teach 36 students. 36. A social studies class taught by Lauren Bills has 32 students in it. I'll finish up real quick. At Chaparral Elementary, 900 kids are in an overcrowded cafeteria where they are given 15 minutes to eat their lunches. How would you like to eat your lunch in 15 minutes? Finally, the enrollment at Higley has grown from, since 2006, grown from 6,900 students to 11,000 students, a 62% growth rate. State funding has gone up by 3%. If this is what's happening in the #1 school district in Arizona, what is happening in the less fortunate school districts? In conclusion, and in my opinion, less funding equals larger classes and less individualized attention. Less funding is destructive to teachers, demoralizing the students. It is disseminating budgets and programs, and is destroying public school systems. Is less funding fair or an injustice? Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Terry Kimball, and I am the President CEO of the Chandler Chamber of Commerce. We are the third largest Chamber of Commerce in the state of Arizona, representing over 100,000 employees here in Chandler. Higher education standards in Arizona is a critical component in moving Arizona forward. Here in Chandler, we use education, all forms of education, from our public, our private, and our charter schools to help move our economy forward. Chandler has not only led the Valley, but it has also led the state in job creation. We put together each year a legislative document that's called our How We Stand, and I will leave this for you. Each year, we gather all of our information from an education component is very critical in this book. We gather information from all of our businesses, our educators, parents, everybody in our community. We take a look at this. Then we put this out to our membership in our business environment. We have them take a look at this. We fine tune it, then we bring it back and we present these to our legislators, and Representative Mesner will know this is what we stand by and move forward for. This is a critical component for Chandler. Higher standards in Chandler, we showcase our educators and our students. Chandler Chandler School District, along with Kyrene and our others, continue to lead the state in many of the awards. Perry High School has the only certification STEM graduate certificate in the entire state. BASIS charter schools continue to win awards. Kyrene schools and Chandler schools continue to be A+ schools. Valley Christian School was just named as the #1 STEM they just won an award for their world robotics in the entire world. Sorry, hang on just a second here. We celebrate our teachers and our business community. In fact, here in Chandler, you need to take a look as you're gathering this information, pulling some of these key people who are leading our state in what's happening here and putting them at the table when you're looking at standards are not curriculum, and that's very important. The other thing is, I think you need to take a look at the results that these high standards have had. We were just, Arizona was just named 4th in reading is the most growth in their reading in the entire nation for struggling students. 8th in the nation on improvement in math scores. Our city and our chamber and our business community and our educators have a citywide education coalition. We applaud education, and in fact, like I said, our business community uses those metrics in continuous improvement, and we do that not only in the chamber world, the business world, but here in our education system as well here in Chandler. And you need to utilize that as well and to continue to move us forward. When we have companies like GM, PayPal, Intel, those companies have settled here because of our educational system. When I have the head of GM, I sat with him 2 weeks ago. He needs to hire 500 employees, and he can't find them. He's pulling from all over the valley. That's why GM chose here. Many of our businesses chose here. We also have our school superintendents, both Dr. Schauer and Dr. Castile, who have been at the table. We just relocated a company from São Paulo, Brazil, right here on the Price Road corridor. Dr. Schauer was at that table when that company was looking at coming here. So when you talk about collaboration,
It has got to be collaboration from all standards. We are no longer an Arizona education system. We are a global education system. And if we don't see that now, we will never move forward. So thank you for listening.
Are you going to leave the book, ma'am?
They want your book. I wanted to discuss something that has not been discussed, Annette officer, and it probably is a very unglamorous subject, and that is funding of our capital needs on our campuses. Years ago, when we had the schools facilities board that funded our schools, it also had a component of revitalization. So when a roof needed to be put on or new carpeting was needed, it would pay for that. Well, now we're back to not being funded, I think because we never had a dedicated funding source for the schools facilities board. But we need to now go out as school districts for bonds that are not being passed. And so we have these millions of dollars of assets in our community that are not being cared for properly because we don't have the money. I would ask that we find a way to pay for the safe learning environments that we want for our children and for our teachers, to attract them and keep them. And maybe that comes through maybe using some of our tax credit money. Maybe it comes through other ways. I don't know what they are at the moment. I guess I'm nervous. But that is a need that we have, is to be able to pay for classroom renewable things. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Blake Sock, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. I'm speaking with you as a parent of Gilbert Public School students, a business person, a former school board member, and a second career educator. I'm supportive of Arizona's college and career ready standards. I'm supportive because they enable our teachers to prepare our students for the world that they will face in the future, not the world that they would have faced in the past. I'm also supportive of these standards because they're done. The magic of learning doesn't happen because of standards. It happens because it happens in the classroom because of the classroom teachers that make learning happen. Our teachers have spent the last 5 years developing standards, evaluating standards, testing standards, revising standards, training standards, and they're not done. Please don't make our teachers start over again. Let our teachers do what they do best, make these standards their own, and enable the magic of learning. I do have one suggestion in an area to work on, and that is to work with the governor and this legislature to abolish the current school finance system. Eliminate the need for bonds and overrides and the hundreds of thousands of hours that are wasted working in favor and against the bond and override elections. Let's implement a system that provides the same level of funding for all public school students, whether they attend district or charter public schools. Let's implement a system that provides funding at a level that supports teachers remaining in education. Thank you. Joe Gusick, Superintendent Douglas, State Representative President, Ms. Taylor, Dr. Johnson. Thank you very much for coming out and listening to everybody. As I tell people all the time, this is a community effort. A community effort, which means everybody has to be involved. the ones who have children and the ones who don't. We're all Americans. We need to step up and do what is not what our right is, but what our responsibility is. It is very important that we, as a group, respect each and everybody's opinion. We need to build a system, the best system in the world. There is no doubt that we can do it. Some people see dead people. Some people can talk to the dead. I can't. But what I can see is the best education system in the world right here in Arizona. And what Superintendent Douglas shared with me, and this is why I come to these meetings, I look for the golden nuggets. She shared something what a principal shared to her a long time ago.
You're not going to take away my fun.
I'm not going to take it away, but I'm going to share it right now, and you're going to tell them again so we get it into their heads. Education is a one-to-one experience. We're going to build a box that bends and flexes. It moves with everybody's needs. Technology is there today. It is there today. So if somebody like this who has concerns, we can educate to the way she would like her child to be taught. To the ones in the back that love Common Core and those kind of things, we can do that. It takes a desire. I will continue to talk to the 92 plus 10. I will keep sending in why do we educate. My next email will be called the chain of command. I want us to understand what our responsibilities are, and I want you to know this. My child is yours, and every other child in this state is mine. I am your lovable, slightly annoying American citizen. I am your education Lawrence, and I will not back down. We fell asleep, and that little magical creature, the Lorax, decided to make one singular vote, and he voted me in. I am, for the rest of your life, your education Lawrence. It's time to roll up our sleeves and get to work. It's simple as this. We are going to build the best education system in the world right here in Arizona. No ifs, no buts, no wins. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Jan Hutchins. I'm a mom and a PTA person. I have a 5th grade son in public schools. I am a proponent of Common Core. He has learned better writing, math, reading skills from it. I am fortunate to have had a 5th grade teacher that invited parents into the classroom several times during the year to help us understand. What I see is educators understand the Common Core, kids understand it. It's the parents that are the weak link. They don't know what's going on. They're frustrated. It's hard for them to learn something new. Because it's new doesn't mean it's worse. Old is not always the best. I have had it with the Arizona legislator and the target on the back of public schools for funding. I have been sick and tired of them cutting funding to our public schools. We need to pay the teachers. We need to give them the resources they need to do their job.
And as Mia is preparing, we will have time for Carolyn O'Connor, Susie Horvath, Jessica Archibald, Ricardo Jenkins, Ian Shirkey, Itasca Small. They are still with us. Come on up front.
Hi, my name is Mia Ponce. I am a mother of 4. My oldest recently graduated in Ivy League College. My junior attends Corona del Sol in the Tempe Union High School District. My 7th grader attends Kyrene Middle School in the Kyrene School District. And my 3-year-old will be a preschooler in the Tempe Elementary School District. I have been an educator for 15 years. I am a math coach in my current position. And I also want to add in there that I did serve 8 years with the Arizona Army National Guard with a 1-year deployment during Operation Iraqi Freedom with the 860 company. And I wanted to add that in there because I draw from many experiences when it comes to educating children. I am a strong supporter of the Common Core standards. I believe they empower our children and they give them the skills to be critical thinkers. My husband and I were both ASU alumni and we have greatly pressured our children to attend ASU as well. However, our oldest did plead a pen and we're proud of that. She's a graduate of Penn. And our high schooler is now also looking outside of the state at universities as well. And I put that out there because we need to prepare our children not only to be productive citizens within Arizona, but if they make that choice, they need to be prepared outside of Arizona too, to be productive citizens in a global society. Again, I am a strong supporter for the Common Core standards, and Superintendent Douglas, I do ask you to reconsider your position and your stance on what those standards can do for our children. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Carolyn O'Connor, and I'm here to represent the East Valley Patriots for Social Justice. And I first want to thank Superintendent Douglas for giving us this opportunity. I am a retired educator. I am the mother of 5 children, all who were educated in Mesa Public School System, 10 grandchildren, 9 who were educated in Arizona Public School System, and 3 great-grandchildren who I hope will be educated in Arizona Public Education System. Arizona's current education budget has begun the dismantling of public school system and the value system upon which it was founded. Arizona's ranking in terms of per pupil funding and achievement is at or near the bottom of among 50 states. As retired educators, we are outraged that free quality education for all is under attack in Arizona. The consequences of underfunding public education in Arizona are many. Corporations and teachers are not moving to Arizona because of low school quality. Our students being less competitive in the marketplace. We talked about the global marketplace. Low standards of living, increased delinquency and incarceration, and a host of other social and economic problems. The East Valley Patriots for Social Justice requests that as the superintendent of public instruction, you work with the governor and the legislators to bring the education budget into compliance with Section 6 of the Arizona Constitution, which reads, the university and all other state educational institutions shall be open to students of both sexes, and the instruction furnished shall be nearly as free as possible. The legislature shall provide for a system of common schools by which a free school shall be established and maintained in every school district for at least 6 months a year, which school shall be open to all pupils between the ages of 6 and 21 years. I'd like to make one more comment after listening to the people in the audience. What this has done to Arizona, cutting the education budget, has widened the gap between the haves and have-nots. All-day kindergarten should be a no-brainer, and hats off, hooray for you who can afford a wonderful private kindergarten, but not all parents can. I was a single parent of 5 children, and if they were educated today, my son could not have participated in football, my daughter could not have been on the swim team, my other daughter could not have been on the tennis team, because now you have to pay a fee to participate. You have to pay a fee to participate. Music, theater, sports, service learning, student government. This should be free. It should be not. So, and somebody mentioned dual enrollment. Dual enrollment gives a heads up or a hands up to high school students. It's prohibited for parents who can't afford the tuition. So I urge you, please, Superintendent, to work with the legislators and stop cutting the budgets. Enough is enough.
I am Susie Borbat from Gilbert, Arizona. I am a product of Gilbert Public Schools. I have 2 girls that have graduated from GPS, as well as I have 2 freshmen, an 8th grader and a 5th grader. My 8th grader plans to enter the STEM program, which I have to say initially I was reluctant to embrace that, but now I am grateful because it's a result of listening to the business community where there is a need, and our schools have stepped in to fill that gap. I do also enjoy the fact that you have this listening tour. I hope that you have started out your lab of the tour on your first day of office, though, with your staff. So those that are employed at 1535 West Jefferson, I hope that they are being heard. I hope that they're being valued, that you understand the point and the need for the assessments in the first place. And on the ADE website, it tells how you'd like world-class system for Arizona to be a model of excellence at a national level. I'm wondering why. Why and how do we achieve that? And why do you care? Because we're state. Well, here's how you achieve it. You support the Arizona College and Career Readiness Standards. You acknowledge that the assessments are necessary for those people who know where their children are placed in the test. It's a result of a test. So they know where they stand, what they've achieved based on having the test in the first place. You take away the fear by reporting the actual facts and the impetus for the movement. You need look no further than University of Arizona. Testing provides a baseline, not only for the student, but for the teacher and the school district to gauge how effectively concepts are being taught. As a parent, you watch your children progress, when they should crawl, when they should speak, when they should walk. This, I see, is the same. It's not the final snapshot of your child, but it's a benchmark and a baseline of where they should be at a certain point. Our legislature doesn't like the overreach, except when they're responsible for it. I do not support HB 2064, the civics test, that you must get a 60% to graduate. First of all, 60% is not acceptable in my house. My husband is a naturalized citizen. But if my kids got a 60, they don't have their phone, they don't have their car, they're grounded. Why would the legislature promote that as a huge win for our state? That boggles my mind. So we dislike tests, students are over-tested. Should we look for efficiencies in testing? Absolutely. I dislike the sentiment that we should do away with all the standardized tests. We cannot and should not expect that our kids can be successful without any testing practice. How many professions need entrance exams just to enter the field of study for that occupation? Take away our police officers, our firefighters, our CPAs, obviously our teachers, our lawyers. While you're listening, I can only hope that you're listening with great intent and that you value the opinion of those who still have children in the K-12 system. Also, please remember that while you did win your election, it was by 1%. You lost in Maricopa County, and even Republicans are seeing the need to invest in education. So this scrap everything model, I hope, goes out the window because we don't want to scrap the model. A good place to start would be to look at the antiquated funding model, and the districts are showing their bare baseline budgets. I'd ask the legislature to do the same. Show us where your cuts have been cost in staff and administration. Thank you very much, and I look forward to the actions that will be taken as a result of this tour.
So Liz, thank you so much for coming and listening. I appreciate it. My name is Jessica Archambault. I am the proud parent of a kindergartner who, with Common Core standards, has learned to not only what her math facts are, but 2 columns of numbers and how to add them. Kindergarten, she is reading. I am a mother of a 5th grader who's doing 6th grade math because of these standards. I am a proud spouse of an educator in the Gilbert Public School District. Much of what I have to say has already been covered. First, please work with other elected officials to get the funding completed for our educators. Administration may be paid too high. Our educators are suffering. Our classrooms are suffering. As a parent of 2 public school children, a spouse who works in public education, I am a working mother. We can't afford to have our children in public schools because the teachers need stuff and the classroom needs stuff. Please work to get these things funded. The classrooms need to be funded. I am pro Common Core because it teaches critical thinking. My children need these skills to go and be competitive in this world. Art, music, and library are things that cannot be cut for our children to be well-rounded citizens who contribute to this world. And finally, for any committees, any groups, anything that you are forming to make suggestions to the state, please have at least one current educator putting in their input to those committees. I think having current educators is of importance. They are in the trenches and they deserve to have their voices heard. Thank you again for being here today.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to start off first by saying thank you to Diane for coming out. I also want to say thank you to the Chandler community for coming out, and I'm going to try to make this as brief as possible. I'm going to start off by saying my name is Ricardo Alfonso Jenkins. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, Motown. For 20 years, I have been wanting to move to Arizona, and I was deterred. Through 20 whole years, people kept saying, no, don't go there. Well, my heart told me Arizona is where I want to live. This is the perfect place to raise children. This is the whole state. I want to commend everyone, public schools, council, state, the whole state. This is a great state to live in, regardless of what anyone says. I was raised in public schools, and I have never met a bad teacher. From kindergarten all the way up to high school, not one single bad teacher. So I want to say that public schools are great. Everything that I learned in public schools, I also still remember. One of my favorite subjects throughout school was math. And I'm gonna, like I said, I'm trying to be as brief as possible and sum it all up with math. One of the things that I learned is the good, the bad, and the ugly throughout my life. And the good was every single teacher came, I think teachers are a gift from God. They come with the heart. They try to teach as many people as they can. And so that's the good. The good is the teachers are there. The ugly part is it's sad that we lose a lot of those good teachers because of money. Also, the kind of bad is I never understood why we separated church and religion from school in the first place. These are just my opinions and I'm just trying to give it to you. Also to state some of my credentials to let you know who I am. I've been on NBC Saved by the Bell. I've been on Deep Impact with Morgan Freeman. My most recent credential is ABC's Lost in Hawaii. So I came from what we call heaven on earth to move to Arizona. And I still, even coming from heaven to over here, I still believe I made the right choice and came to the right state and absolutely the right community, Chandler community. This is the mom.
I'm waving at you, Ricardo.
Yeah, sorry, ma'am.
I'm just telling you because
so
I'm behind you.
I'm gonna try to sum it up with math. I believe in the circle just as well as we sit on this sphere. First thing I learned is, you know how everybody say children learn really fast. They go, oh my God, they grow so fast. They're fast learners. Fast, fast, fast. That is a total understatement because I learned from my mother first. That was my teacher. And I'm sorry, I was gonna say don't clap too soon, but that's okay. First thing I learned from was my mother. And my mother, ironically, she wanted to be a teacher. But the ugly, it wasn't enough money in teaching. So, like I said, I feel that she's waving me, so I gotta try to sum it up as fast as I can. It starts at home. The mothers have to be, the parents have to be the teachers, and they have to work with the public school system and the teachers to reach a common goal. And somehow, some way, we have to put religion back in it because as a fast learner, at 2 years old, I figured out that I didn't have to listen to my mother. But when I got to church, God told me, listen to your mother. So I don't know why we took religion out of it, and nobody in politics and everything want to talk about God when it should be God, parents, and public. Thank you guys, and always remember God is amazing, and please teach your kids good things from God. Amen.
Yeah.
first and foremost, thank you, Diane, for coming out here to our community here in Chandler. I really appreciate it.
Can you speak a little
Oh,
louder?
sorry. Yeah, is that better? Is that better? Sounds good. All right. First and foremost, Diane, thank you for coming out here. My name is Ian Shirkey. I'm a husband and father, and I've actually been educated in this great state of Arizona my entire life. Since junior high at Anderson Junior High School, Chandler High here at Chandler High, actually under the Ames regime, and furthermore to Northern Arizona University. Now, since graduating from Northern Arizona University, and essentially, the whole education system here in Arizona, I'm proud to say that I'm now a professional operational risk manager with one of the larger banks here in town. Now, one of my main responsibilities entails at being an operational risk manager is ensuring that my bank is living up to some of the standards and regulations set forth by the government. Most of these standards apply to small banks, even if you're a small bank here in Chandler, Arizona, or a large bank in New York. I think pretty much the standards should apply to education. I think that these standards protect consumers, and in case with the standards here at Public Common Core, I think that they protect our children and promote them to be the best that they can be. With that being said, I am unwilling to delegate the important civic responsibility of educating our youth to those at the state level who continue to wage war on our children. What we know now today is that the standards are working. They are working in charters such as the Great Hearts Academies. For example, if we take a look at the standard, the #1 country in the world for math, it's Singapore. Now, what we've got is Common Core standards here in Arizona, and that's still not disallowing charter schools from implementing Singapore math in our schools. These are helping our children be the best they can be, not only in our community in Chandler, but the rest of the world. Thank you.
Our last speaker is Paul.
Hello, my name is Itasca Small, and I thank you all for being here, and everyone behind me also. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak and be a part of this. First, Ayn Rand once gave a speech to the West Point Academy graduates that she titled "Philosophy, Who Needs It?" She answered that question in the speech. And what we have to do is we have to know that everyone needs philosophy. And until we understand the philosophy that really underlies the concept of education, we will not find the answers we seek. Question, is it truly our goal to create a 21st century job apprenticeship guild system? Or do we want to truly educate our children? Do you want to see the wonder in your child's animated eyes, or do you want to see them frustrated all the time? I believe we all seek the same goal, to expand children's minds, not shackle them by deconstructing their developing creative brains. The human brain is not fully developed until the mid to late 20s. When you use constructivism, as does Common Core, from birth to 12th grade, you are deconstructing the brain's natural development, opening the pathways to indoctrination rather than education. We need to remember that we can drown the baby with the bathwater. Not that we want to. What is the answer to making sure our children are truly prepared for life? We need to compare outcomes. We now have two dynamic systems at work: formal education and homeschool education, which is not restricted to the home. My cousins have more friends in their peer group than you could imagine. We cannot deny that outcome differences are night and day. What creates that difference? One method graduates, one method educates. What is the difference? The basic teaching methods are diametric opposites. We need to look at that difference. In conclusion, we are not trusting our teachers to truly educate our children, and we are not trusting ourselves to control the education of our children. A box is still a box if we don't think outside its confines. My question is, are you studying the homeschool teaching methods and curricula? Because the results are amazing. Thank you.
We have exceeded our time this morning. I'll return it to Superintendent Douglas.
We'll just conclude really quickly. I just want to thank you all for taking your time to come today. I especially want to thank those of you who stayed right along to the very bitter end. I appreciate that you did so. As I listen to these things, something always strikes me. One of the comments that I made that was almost, the wind almost taken out of my sails, Mr. Lorax, is I share a story about when I started on the Peoria School Board and I toured all the schools. And I remember, and I will never forget, and I carried this with me as I was on school board, and I carried it with me into this job today. A principal coming up to me and literally wagging his fingers in my face like this and saying to me, "You just remember one thing, young lady, as you're on the school board. One size fits one." And I think that's what we're hearing a lot about today. I've heard it all through our listening tour, and I expect I will, that our children are gifts, and that they aren't all the same, and they can't all be treated the same, and that's why we have some of these discussions. Another thing that struck me today is Mr. Jenkins talking about what a great state Arizona is and what a great education system we have. Can we make it better? Absolutely. We can always improve upon things. But I too, like him, my family moved here, it'll be 25 years ago. Our daughter was 3 years old. We moved here to raise and educate her here from actually the great state of New Jersey. Never looked back, never regretted that we educated her, and she was publicly educated all through her schools except for a private preschool that we put her in, but all public schools in Peoria. And we are glad we did. She got a great education, and I think we need to be telling people about all the wonderful successes that we have here in Arizona. With that, I thank my fellow panelists. I appreciate you being here today and hearing all they had to say. I wish all of you moms out there, grandmoms out there, a very happy Mother's Day. I'm having my first, not Mother's Day, but with my grandson. We had a new grandson in December, so I have a new, as they say, dog in the fight. This is taken on an even more personal level because of that. So I wish you all a very happy Mother's Day. Please be safe going home, and God bless you. Thank you for being here today.